I want to start by telling you how excited I am by the interest in this demo. Because when we sent the invite out, we were expecting 30, maybe 40 people to attend. Apparently, over 150 people registered in our website. Now, we see we have already about 100 people listening today, which is great. I see a lot of names that I recognize as our clients. And I want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for supporting us. So let's start. What we are planning to do today is for me to give you a quick overview about Ecotrope. I know that's not what you're looking for. You're looking to see the demo, so this can be a short section. And the second section, this is where Sai will demo the product. And the third section will be where Rob Salcido will tell you a little bit more about the experience he's got ramping up clients. What is the typical process? What are the kind of services we provide to our clients? And generally, what to expect. And following that, we would like to make it kind of an interactive section where you ask us questions and we answer as many as we can. And the way we want to do that is through by having you sending us emails to webinar@ecotrope.com, and we will collect your questions and answer as many as we can at the end. We project to take this presentation part will take 35, maybe 40 minutes, and the rest will be allocated to questions. Now, let's talk about the background. So Ecotrope is a SaaS cloud-based company. It means many advantages to the end user. I want to talk about 3. The first one is that you can get to Ecotrope from any machine at any time. You might have a PC at the office, a Mac at the field, an iPad, a mini PC, a maxi PC. We just don't care. You just log in. The second thing is that there is no installation. All you need is to log into Ecotrope from using a browser, and you get the latest version of the product anytime. And the last thing is that you can log into the system from 2 different systems using the same password and the same username, and you will see the same time. The same thing, same project, same information, same everything. Now, Ecotrope has been around for about 7 years now. And my partner originally developed our technology at MIT for NASA. Now, while at NASA you think about life support systems, fuel systems, and in home construction you think about windows, wall installation, mechanical equipment, you're still trying to solve a similar problem. It's how to build a system that will fulfill its mission for the most cost-effective price, in the most cost-effective way. So we took the NASA product, we adjusted to the construction world. We had to develop our own hourly-based algorithm. We got accredited for HERS, for ICC, etc. And we created 3 product lines. The first one is what we call the Ecotrope Design Optimizer. It basically helps builders find the most cost-effective spec. Think about a builder, a production builder, might build in a division with maybe 50 plans, and they have a new code to meet. And they want to figure out what is the best spec to meet the new code. And you can think about Ecotrope in that regard, it's like RAM rate on steroids. We will take all the plans they have, in all the orientations, with all the components that they can use, with their prices, with the energy prices, with the incentives that are available. We will run it very, very quickly, in seconds. And we will figure out what is the best way to build in that division. And typically we will save builders thousands of dollars on every house they build. That's product one. The second product we have is called the TCO, the true cost of ownership. And the TCO helps builders sell these new energy efficient homes. Because what we learned is that most builders compete mainly with used homes, and they have hard time explaining why their homes cost so much than the used home. And the TCO shows home buyers how the saving in energy and in maintenance offsets the added mortgage cost. And the result is impressive. Many home buyers will change their mind while they understand the financials. And the third product that we have, which we're talking about today, it's the Ecotrope RATER, which is the product that addresses the other products for the builders. The Ecotrope RATER is for the rating community. And our idea is to develop a better and more cost-effective rating tool than the other products in the market. And the idea is to build this tool in order to develop relationships or partnerships, if you will, with as many raters as we can, allowing them to use Ecotrope RATER as the base, and then use the relationship that we build as a way to get the other products to the market. Now, our strategy has three concepts. One is through the Ecotrope RATER, is where they say we want to give you a better product, and the basic idea is that we want to eliminate as much inefficiencies as we can in the process. Signing documents, doing administrative QA, dealing with libraries. We want to get it as much as we can out of the process, so you spend more time doing the things that you like and less time doing ratings. And then the second concept is, again, to use this base as a way to offer builders advanced features that will help you get a better seat at the table, increase your influence. As some of our clients say, turn you from a cost center or a necessity where builders have to use you to meet code into a profit center. You can come to a builder and say, we saved you this amount of money, X amount of money, that's why we are charging Y. And the third concept is that by doing that, we want to increase the pie for all of us. So all of us are making more money, increasing our profit. So we all went through that journey about a year ago. We started by creating a consortium with some of the leading providers in the industry. We worked with Energy Logic, the Bear, IBS Advisors. Soon after, we had Energy Diagnostics joining as well. And they pretty much told us how should we develop this tool, and we did. We listened and we did. And since then, we've been growing pretty fast. Now, that's my part. We are ready to go to a demo by Sai. And while we do the demo, I'm sure Sai will talk about it, but I do want you to look at a couple of things. One is the automatic nature of updates. I mean, see how updates are happening behind the scenes. We will show you, and you should look for the productivity boosting features. This is where we try to take all the administrative work out of the process. I will talk later a little bit about the adaptability nature of the system, how we created the system in a way that it's open to talk with other products and other systems that you have in your organization, saving you double clicking, saving you time, how it works on any computer anywhere. And just remember that behind the scene, we have an hourly based simulation engine.
Great. So thank you, Ziv. And thanks to everybody out there for attending today. This is really great to see so many people here. We're just going to switch the presenter role over. Okay. So you should now be seeing my screen instead. For those of you out there who don't know me, my name's Sai Kilborn. I'm the Director of Engineering here at Ecotrope. I've been with the company since the beginning and developing this tool and speaking with a lot of clients out there to try to understand, how to make this a really great rating tool. What I'm going to do today is really just give a very high-level demo. I'm going to shoot for 20 or 25 minutes just to give you a brief overview of the tool, what it looks like, and how it works. There's a lot more detail that we could get into. I'm sure you guys will have questions as I go through it. And as Ziv mentioned, please send questions to webinar@ecotrope.com. Just email them there, and we'll try to get to as many as we can at the end of the webinar. All right. So the first thing I want to touch on, and Ziv touched on this as well, is that Ecotrope is a web application. All right. So what does that mean? Basically, it means you can open it in any browser. So I'm using Chrome right now. You can see I've just gone to a URL in this browser, and you will be prompted to log in. All you'll have to do is log in with your credentials, and you'll be accessing the app. All right, so there's no downloads ever. You'll never have to download anything. When we make updates to the application, essentially it just happens behind the scene. You log in the next day, and you'll see a new report or a new feature or something's just a little bit nicer to use, but you always log in through the same portal. So you don't have to manage different versions of the software on your desktop. All right. It also means that there are no files. All right. So everything's stored in a cloud-based server. As you can see here, this is just sort of a demo account, but what we have here is a list of projects. And in Ecotrope, a project is essentially the same as a rating or an address, or if you're familiar with REMRate, the same as a .blg file. So it's sort of one unit. And all of these are stored on the cloud. So that means that everything is synced across users. So anyone in your account will always see the same projects. Updates are instant and live. So your data is always in sync and high integrity. All right. This also holds true with libraries. So I'll talk about library syncing a little bit more as we go on, but you'll have one central library that's stored across all users. So you'll never have problems with libraries getting out of date or unsynced or corrupted libraries. All right. Since all these projects here are stored on the cloud in a database form instead of in files, it allows us to use some powerful tools to access the projects that we want when we need them. All right. So, for example, we have a number of different parameters for each of these projects. If I want to access only files for a certain rater, I can simply search rater, and let's say Joseph Adams is who I'm going to look for. So I'll just say rater Joe. It doesn't have to be the full name. It's a pretty smart search in that way, and I'll instantly filter down to projects that are only under that rater. And then if I want to add another level here, I can filter by, let's say, builder is great. No pun intended. And we are showing only projects from that rater with this builder. All right, so you can filter in a number of different ways, project status, where it is in its completion lifecycle, address, a bunch of things like that to access the projects that you want when you need them. So when you're a new account, your project list will be empty. There's a number of ways to create projects in Ecotrope. So you can start from scratch by creating new projects. You can copy projects if you have templates in your account that you want to sort of copy and modify. That's pretty common for large volume production raters. But what I want to call out here specifically today is the third way to create projects, which is to import data. So we know that a lot of the market right now is using REMRate, and you folks have hours and really sometimes hundreds or even thousands of hours invested in these templates for builders that you have. You've done takeoffs on these floor plans. You've created these REMRate files, which represent your templates. And to recreate those in a new software tool would be extremely time intensive and difficult. So what we've done is allow you to import those files directly from REMRate. All right, so we can go to this page. You can choose files to import, and it will allow you to actually import them directly in batch format. So I can select a number of different files. I can import them directly, and they'll all be translated into the Ecotrope data scheme, and you'll have the same rating represented in Ecotrope. All right. Now, as you may be able to see here, the import is via REM XML, which is something that REMRate produces. REMRate only produces XMLs one by one, so you open the BLG file and then you export the XML. What we've done to avoid everyone from having to open their BLG files one by one and create an XML file and import it is we've created a batch utility on our side to export these files in bulk or in batch and then dump them into Ecotrope. So during the onboarding process, that's something that we offer as a service. We ask you to send us your templates and we'll take care of merging them into Ecotrope in batch. So that's a high-level overview of how the projects are created and how they're stored here. Let's actually dive right into one so that you guys can see how it works and what are some of the outputs and inputs here associated with the project. So I'll open one of these projects, and where I'm taken immediately is what we call the project dashboard. All right. There's a number of different actions and views that you can access from here. So we've got our sort of action buttons here. We can print reports. We can submit the project to various places. We can also access project information, which is sort of site information about the project, the builder, et cetera. We can edit information about the building designs. So this is somewhere where Ecotrope differs a little bit from the other rating tools in the industry. We have a slightly different structure here in that one project represents one address or one rating, and that's what we're viewing here. But within a project or within an address, you can actually have multiple building designs. All right. So for example, if we wanted to store a confirmed rating and a projected rating for the same address or for the same project, we could actually store those both within this project in Ecotrope. So I can copy this building design. I could name it confirmed. And it's going to create another building design there. So essentially, we have two designs here within the same project. All right. So it's just a slightly nicer way, we think, of managing all this data and keeping things nice and tidy. All right. For now, I'll remove this design so that we can just work on one. Okay. And then we also have the component library, which is where all of your library entries live, and you can edit those and update them and merge them with those component library management tools. Okay, so let me dive into these in a little bit more detail one by one. I'll start with project info here. So like I said, this is site level information for the project, its location, its builder. We actually pull the weather station directly based on the zip code, so you won't have to choose which weather station is closest to the location. We'll just automatically determine it once you enter the zip code. There's also utility rates here, which are an organization shared library of rates, and then rating information, so rating date, permit info. And then one thing I want to call out specifically here is version. All right, so I mentioned before that Ecotrope is a web app. There's no downloading and installing different versions. Everything is updated seamlessly when you log in. That doesn't mean that when something changes with the algorithm, for example, if ResNet changes their standards, like moving to the ANSI standard, or if Ecotrope pushes some enhancement to our modeling algorithm or some bug fix that fixes the way we calculate things, it doesn't mean we'll just push that overnight and instantly all of your results will change. All right, because we know that would be devastating. So we have a versioning system that handles that, and each project has a version or an algorithm version associated with it. Okay, so when we push a new update that changes results, all the projects will stay on their existing versions unless you manually update them to a new version. And when you change versions for a project, everything is very smooth, forwards and backwards compatible. So you can switch to post-ANSI or pre-ANSI or new versions and back and start to test these things out and how they affect your projects. All right, next thing I'll dive into is editing a particular building design. So when I open this, I think you'll notice that the inputs look, in many cases, very similar to what you're used to with REM rate or energy gauge. Most of the inputs for these HERS rating tools are pretty similar because there are the ResNet minimum rated features. So we find that the learning curve for someone switching to Ecotrope that has used other tools is extremely quick. And Rob can talk about that onboarding process a little bit too after I finish up with the demo here. So I'll just briefly cruise through some of these inputs. We've made it into a tabular format here to make everything easily accessible. We think it's just a little bit nicer. So we have general information about the house, floor area, volume. We've got envelope information, fenestration information, windows and doors, mechanical equipment, the ANSI water inputs. So I won't go through all of these in detail. I think that's something that each of you can go through as you desire or want to get familiar with the tool. But what I will call out is just a few higher level things on this inputs page. All right, so as I mentioned, Ecotrope has the same component library structure as you're familiar with most tools. So let's take walls, for example, here. We can create a wall, we can specify the area and the location, but the actual thermal specs are contained in what we call a library entry. And for this wall, we would go ahead and select a library entry that is associated with the wall. Okay, so let's dive into this one. I'll click Edit on this wall entry, and what I'm seeing now is the thermal specs editor. Okay, it looks a little bit different. We've gone with a little bit more of a graphical interface here. So what you're seeing is a top-down cross-section of the wall from interior on the bottom. So we have a sheetrock layer here to exterior on the top. So we make our way through a stud cavity layer, that's studs and fiberglass insulation in the cavity, and then to our siding layer on the outside. And all these layers together give us a combined R value of 18.67 here. Okay, so any of these layers can be edited. So for example, if this is instead R19 insulation in the cavity, I can update that. You'll see it changes my composite R value here as it should. We can change the insulation grade, which will also affect that. And then we can add and move layers. So let's maybe say we have a continuous XPS layer here on the outside. We can add that and everything will be reflected in the R value. That's just a little bit of a different take on creating assemblies. All right. Now you also may notice that we have this checkbox up here at the top that says verified. Okay. So this is sort of a permission scheme for library entry editing. There are certain users that have library curator permissions. Usually it's a handful of users within an organization. And if the user has library curator permissions, they can check library entries off as verified or uncheck them as unverified. Okay? If entries are checked as verified, then no one other than the library curators can alter them in any way. So essentially, they're locked for editing. Okay, so that really helps keep libraries that you've vetted and verified in sync. It keeps the integrity of your data, and it also gives it some special formatting. So once library entries have been verified, you'll see that they have this light green highlight in the drop-downs for selection. So you'll instantly know if a plan is using the correct verified components, or if maybe it's using a new component that probably should be verified or should be updated at some point to be verified. Okay, and then the last thing here on this screen that I'll touch on is the quick results panel on the right. So this is probably something that you're relatively familiar with. A lot of the tools have the ability to view these results quickly. So you can see, the various codes. You can see whether it passes with a green check or fails with a red triangle. But in a little bit more detail, if you hit this drop down here, you'll be able to see exactly which pieces of that code or of that program are passing versus failing. So rather than having to print a report or change some things to try to get the program to pass, you'll be able to see which pieces are passing and which pieces are failing. So for example here, we really are passing the 2015 ERI except for this small mandatory item of R3 water pipe insulation. Great. So I'm sure there will be questions on that page, and we'll try to get through them as we can. And if not, we can try to follow up. The next piece is sort of the more fun piece. After the inputs have all been done, the next thing to get to is, usually printing a projected report and giving it to the appropriate party, the builder or the code official. So you can see in the report section, we have projected and confirmed reports. For now, I'll just go right into the projected report section, which will prompt me with a dialog to select reports. So I can load multiple reports all in batch and print them all off together. For now, let me just load a couple here. I'll load the HERS certificate and the performance compliance report. We'll hit OK. This is going to load those reports in preview form, so I can see what they look like here before I actually go ahead and download them and send them off. So this first report is our take on the HERS certificate. We've added a little bit of color, put what we think and what the industry thought was important parameters to put on the HERS certificate, and sort of just made it look a little bit nicer with logos and things like that. We also have the performance compliance report here, which shows compliance with IECC. So there are a number of other reports to explore, but I just stuck with these two. And you'll notice that, as I'm sure everyone knows, a lot of these reports need to be signed by the rater. So in many cases, we found that raters were either printing or downloading reports and signing them in Adobe, or they were actually printing them and signing them and scanning them. So we allowed the user to upload a signature directly into the product, and in one click, simply sign all of the reports before downloading them. Okay, so you can see it'll throw the signature right onto this signature line. Of course, it'll be the rater signature rather than this generic signature. And then these reports are available for downloading with that signature. All right, and one more piece here is that while you can download them as a PDF, you can also email them directly from the product. So rather than downloading a PDF and attaching it to an email and sending it to the appropriate party, you can simply punch in the email directly from here, and it will send that PDF to the appropriate party. Okay, and I'll just go through one last thing here because obviously time is short on just the 1-hour webinar. So what I want to show is how to submit projects to various places, right? So as I mentioned in the beginning, Ecotrope is a web app. It doesn't have files per se. Everything is stored in the cloud. So that means you wouldn't, email a file to someone to share it with them, right? So we have mechanisms for things like registering with the ResNet registry or sharing with your HERS QA provider or submitting to a utility program, all right from within the project. And that comes from the Submit Project button, okay? So for this user, it's only showing register with ResNet. Often there would be options for submitting to their provider or for submitting to a certain utility program. All that capability is within Ecotrope. But for now, let's take a look at register with ResNet. And this comes with sort of a nice, handy time-saving feature where Ecotrope will actually do a whole slew of automated QA in the background to try to catch any input errors or typos or anything like that that might have gone wrong in this project. All right, so you can see all these checks. Everything's green for now, which means it looks good. But if we saw some, ratio that looked a little bit funky or something was out of bounds, you might see a warning here or an error here that prompts you to sort of think twice about submitting it before maybe checking to see if that's a real error. But otherwise, you can go ahead and submit, and this will send it directly to the ResNet registry, which will update the registry ID here and enable confirmed reports for this project. All right. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. I know it was a lot in a short amount of time, and it just sort of touched on the surface. But I do want to save some time for Rob Salcido to go over the onboarding process, because I think it's pretty important to understand, and also for questions at the end. So if you had questions on this section, please do send them to webinar@ecotrope.com.
Okay, great. So one exciting feature that I'd like to talk about is our API. This is basically a link to send information automatically back and forth to Ecotrope. This means that if you already collect information about your ratings outside of your rating system and deal with manual processes of double data entry, Ecotrope can actually help or might be able to help. For example, you might have a project management or a CRM system that collects site-specific information and then store the rating results. You can simply send to Ecotrope your information once you're ready to do the rating and read back the analysis results. This has a lot of current and future implications, but I do want to start by just talking about two products that are already connected to Ecotrope. One of them is Dash, which a system that Energy Logic created. And for that specific purpose, think about Dash as storing templates or plans about different projects with some site-specific information. And Ecotrope and Dash can simply launch Ecotrope with the template, with the site-specific information automatically. Not need to do double data entry once you start Ecotrope. Once you have the project, then in Dash you have a link that you can press, and then you go directly to that project in Ecotrope with all the information that exists for the project, and then you can read back the information coming from Ecotrope. You can get the errors, the energy performance, what have you. The other system is Axis, coming from Pivotal, and the same concept. Pivotal or Axis gets information directly from Ecotrope. This is a pretty cool implementation that we recently did for utility in Arizona, where we have a button inside Ecotrope, say submit to utility, and once you do that, the information goes directly to Axis with all the needed information, and then the utility can just scrub the information or get the information directly from Axis. Again, saves all these manual processes, everything works automatically. Now, the option for the future, I'm very excited about that because the options are endless. Just a few examples. Think about a field collection system that generates site-specific homes in Ecotrope automatically, or the ability to access Ecotrope reports without even launching Ecotrope. You have a link in your application, you press it, and you get the HERC report. And one of the holy grail that I really think it's going to be really exciting is the ability to do automatic takeoffs, getting information directly from your CAD system and generating a site-specific information. So that was about our API. I'm going to let Rob take it from there.
Okay. Thank you, Ziv. Thanks, Sai, for the demo and introduction. Hello, everyone. Rob Salcido here. I imagine I know quite a few of you, and for those who I don't, look forward to meeting you or speaking with you. So we talk about Ecotrope onboarding. You know, you've now made the decision. We're going to come over to Ecotrope, but what does that entail? We understand that you have probably been using a different rating tool for a long time. your business practices and are wrapped around it pretty well. Your builders, code officials, utilities are very familiar with REM rate or energy gauge. And so how do we board you about, have you come aboard and that we can make this a seamless operation? So what we've come up with is a nice onboarding process. So this process helps you gain access to Ecotrope and use it in your business with as little interruption as possible, as pain-free as possible, and as quickly as possible. So it's a phased approach. We have some milestones that we need to reach, and then we can continue on our support. So we're working in tandem to make this happen seamlessly. So it starts with a contract. As we know, talking with Ziv, you would come up with a license and a pricing structure based on the amount of ratings you do. And then from there, we start planning the conversion. So we want to, and where it starts is we talk to you about your business. How does your rating business work? And so we want to understand that really clearly, and then how Ecotrope fits into that. So there may be some obstacles that we need to consider based on utilities, that they only know a specific amount of reporting or data submission. How can Ecotrope, bridge into that and make it a nice, easy process? So we want to fine-tune the conversion based on your business needs, and that we're considering everything as part of your business plan. So what this will entail is we can set up an account in Ecotrope. We can upload signatures and logos if you have them. For us, we'll provide you training materials that you can use to gain comfort and usability within Ecotrope. And you're assigned an account manager, which might even be me. So if you're lucky, you'll have me as helping you guide you through this process. And then finally, we're executing this conversion plan. So now your rater, your providers have access to Ecotrope. And then you can run through this training materials that we provided to get comfortable with the product. And what we found, in my experience, is that there's a pretty steep learning curve. You'll see a lot of familiarity with the building inputs, and you'll be able to easily find your way through the product to get from the beginning of a project all the way to confirmed rating, and then the reports and the submissions and the quick analysis, everything that comes with that. One of the services we provide here as part of this is we can, as Sai alluded to, is if you have a large supply of building files, that we can take those in an XML form or building file form and upload those in one shot for you as a service. So you send us all your huge load of building files, and we can put those up and populate your database, so the next time you log on, or it may not be that quickly, but when we're ready, you log on and there are all your building files loaded up for you to, set up as a projected rating, a confirmed rating, or, is already that's there in your database. And our batch capabilities are growing by the day, so you can be able to do this on your own without it being a service. And the final piece is what we call the collaborative product development. Is as we're going through this conversion process, if you find there's features or capabilities that are missing in Ecotrope, that you can request those features, that we build an implementation form that you submit your requests and prioritize them, and then we can come back and review all the logs, and then start prioritizing those features going into Ecotrope. So the development team has its own prioritization list that they go through, and these are based on your inputs, from our clients' inputs, that these are items I need to finish up my confirmed ratings and submit them to said utilities. And a final piece of that is, just as I said, the utility piece. If you submit specific data formats or reports to utilities, we want to help you by contacting utilities, introducing them to Ecotrope, and showing them what it is. It's an accredited ResNet rating tool, and that we can provide the reports or the data that they need to allow you to submit your data to these utilities through Ecotrope. So having said all that, so at that point, through the collaborative product development, we've gone through the conversion process. Now you're off and running. If there's support you need, we're here, a phone call or email away. And so just to support you as you go through, if your business needs change, we can make Ecotrope change along with you to help out. So the final thing I'll say is what we're trying to do is we're building a lasting relationship. We don't want to just give you the product and say, you're off, there you go, have fun, call us if you need us. We want to work with you side by side to make it a successful transition. And from there, I will, that's the piece I was going to give. I wanted to kind of give time for question and answers. I know there's probably a lot out there, but this is the piece for my part, from the onboarding process. It could be as simple as you take the product and run, or we really work with you to, learn your business and make Ecotrope a successful part of that. So from there, Ziv and Sai, I will let it open up for questions.
Great. Yeah. Maybe just final thing. If you're interested in learning more, please feel free to contact us at info@ecotrope.com. Please just let us know whether you're a rater or provider, how many homes you plan on doing next year or this year, and what are the common reports that you guys do or need in your everyday work. Great. With that, let's open up to questions.
Yeah, so I guess we've been open for questions here, and a lot have come through. So thanks everybody for being engaged and for sending in a bunch of really good questions. I'm not going to be able to get to all of them, so I've chosen a few here that I think have come in, multiple times, so they should be relevant to everyone. We had a question that came in. Since the system is online, there's some concern, will raters be able to access the older versions that they start models in? And I know it's a ResNet requirement that you should be able to access older versions of readings. So the answer to that one is yes, you will be able to access older versions. So as I mentioned, product updates that do not have to do with the algorithm are sort of continuously rolling, and when you log in, you might see a new update that's just a more usable product. But updates that have to do with algorithm changes, those will be versioned on that version drop-down that I showed within the project. So if you have a project on an older version and we come out with a new version or 2 new versions or 3 new versions, you'll still be able to access that project within its original version and get the results from that version. So you won't have to worry about sort of losing those results when a new version comes out. Those will continue to be accessible from the product. All right. We also had a question about state-specific codes. So I know in the list that I showed there for this project, there probably weren't any state-specific reports available for code. The way Ecotrope does it is based on the location of the project. So when you enter the zip code or the state for the project in Ecotrope, we determine which code options and which reports to show. So one specific question was about Michigan. If you create a project and set the location to Michigan, you actually will see the Michigan state-specific report and compliance calculation. So we do support a number of state codes, perhaps not all of them, but we support Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, North Carolina, Iowa, the Texas ERI path with a specific report for that Texas ERI path and the amended HERS index values, and potentially a few others that I'm missing. But as you, if you contact us at the link that Ziv sent, please, if you have state-specific codes that you need, please add that to the email so that we know whether we can support you fully or not. That'll just be really good information. We also had a question on what is an API, which is a really good question because Ziv was talking for a few minutes about an API, and I think probably a lot of you, it's the first time you've heard of that before. So API stands for Application Programming Interface. That probably doesn't really clear much up for you. But essentially what it is an access portal that other software tools can use to pull data out of Ecotrope or to put data into Ecotrope, and in other ways to sort of interact with Ecotrope. So for example, if you had another web application, or if you had a field data collection form, or if you had some project management software, it could use the Ecotrope API to, behind the scenes, transfer data back and forth, or have Ecotrope do certain actions. So it allows Ecotrope to play nicely with other software tools, which allows for major process efficiencies and sort of extra value gains. All right. We also had a question about multiple signatures. So the question was whether, basically whether if one user is using the software that did not do that was not the rater of record on a project, can they sign the signature of the person that was the rater of record on the project? At least I think that was the intent of the question. And we see this a lot, so a lot of times you'll have the raters in the field that do the work, but they're not actually the folks that are using the software to print the confirmed rating. Sometimes it's admin staff, or sometimes it's someone else. So we do allow every user to upload their own signature, and we allow, if the user that uploaded the signature gives permission to others within their organization, then we allow others within that organization to print reports with their signature on it. So it's a little complex, but essentially what it means is that when you specify the rater of record for a project, any user within the organization can print the report with that rater's signature on it. Also, just a quick one, some folks asking about whether this presentation is being recorded. We are recording the presentation, so I think Ziv will probably be sending it out to everyone after the webinar, or should we ask for people to request it?
Yeah, why don't you just send, whoever wants it, just send us a request and we will send you the presentation.
Okay, so rather than spam everyone, if you would like a copy of the presentation, please just send us an email. You can either send an email to webinar@Ecotrope or info@Ecotrope, and we'll send you a recording of this call. We can probably also share the slides of the call as well. Okay, we also had another question about rebate programs, which I think is a really good one because it probably affects a lot of folks out there. So this one was particularly about the Phoenix market. I know there are multiple utility programs in that market that require REMRate files to be sent to the program administrator in order to process the rebate. And so the question was, and it's a really good one, since this is an online tool and there aren't any files, how can you send the information to the rebate program to get that rebate processed? All right. So the answer is through the submission portal within the product. So we've worked with a number of utilities across the country. This question was about Phoenix, so we've actually integrated with APS, SRP, TEP, and SWG down in the Arizona area. A bunch of fun acronyms there. So basically what happens is right from the project dashboard, you can take your project, and if you're a part of that rebate program, you'll be able to click a button that says submit to, APS, for example. And that project data will go right into a holding account in Ecotrope that's accessible by either the program administrator or any third party that is being contracted by that utility. For example, in this case, Axis runs that program. for them to be able to pull that data and do the rebate processing in that way. So essentially, we're supporting utility programs one by one. We've made a lot of progress with a lot of utility programs. And so, for example, in Arizona, those should be all taken care of. But again, when you do contact us, or if you do contact us, please specify if you're within a certain rebate program and if that's important to your business, because we want to understand if we can fully support you now or if we may have to wait until the future to support your specific use case. Okay, we also got a question about pricing. So we won't go into a ton of detail on pricing right now, but there's probably a lot of people out there thinking about it. So I'll let Ziv just give a really brief overview of roughly what the pricing looks like.
Okay, thanks. So our pricing structure is kind of similar to what most of you are used to. There is a provider fee, a per rater fee, a per rating fee. Try to make it very cost effective. So our per rating fee, which typically takes the big part of cost, is typically between $6.5 to $9.5, depending on volume. You get to pay less as you have a higher volume. And the other thing is that we try to flatten the fee for you. So instead of paying one time or paying on a quarterly basis, we make a plan based on what you project to do, and we try to flatten that for the entire year, so you don't have surprises. You know exactly how much you're gonna pay every month. But that's on a kind of high level. I'm sure we'll talk in more details if that interests you.
Great. Okay. We also had a question about mobile applications, or specifically using an iPad to go out in the field and do confirmed ratings. So Ecotrope does not currently have a mobile application, so you wouldn't go to the App Store and try to download Ecotrope. But what you can do is actually just open up a browser right on a mobile device and log into Ecotrope directly from really any type of device, iPad, even a phone. It's a little bit small to work on a phone, but you can open it up right from a phone. It doesn't need any installation or anything like that. So we do actually have users today that are going out in the field and doing their confirmed ratings on iPads using Ecotrope. So that's certainly an option if you think that will be a process efficiency improvement for your business, rather than sending data back to the office or completing the rating at another time. So that is available today. And we also have potential plans because of this Ecotrope API, which can be accessed by other software tools. We have potential plans to integrate with some form field data collection apps, potentially RATER Pro, which is the Energy Star application that DOE is developing, or potentially other custom field data collection applications. So that's something that's out there, and if it would interest you, we would definitely love to hear from you about it.
We have time for maybe one more.
Yeah, I'll probably just do one more here. So there's some questions here about specific reports. So we've gotten one about the New York State 2016 ECCC, which I know is one out there that I don't think any software tools support right now. We also do not have a specific report for that. We know about it and we have it in our development roadmap. So I expect we'll be releasing one at some point, but we do not have one released yet. And also a question about the NGBS report. Also, we know about that one. It is not yet released in Ecotrope, but certainly on our development roadmap. So I think this opens up an interesting talking point for us because we really do like to listen to the market, and we can react pretty quickly to what our users' needs are. So we love to hear from you about what you need, what's working and what's not working. And we, once you're a customer, we really listen and react very quickly. So our development process can be on the order of days, and we'll have things updated. For reports, it would take a little bit longer than days, but we can do things pretty quickly. So we like to hear what the needs are, and we're trying as quickly as we can to implement things that will cover all these gaps. All right, so there are a few more here, but we're right approaching the hour, and I don't want to steal too much of people's time. So I think we'll wrap it up right here for now. Zev, I'll let you give the final wrap up.
Yeah, thank you, Sai. And again, I'm really excited to see how many of you are interested. We got tons of questions, and we'd love to keep the dialogue going. You can, as I said, you can contact us at info@ecotrope.com. You can visit us at our booth at ResNet 110, or you can attend our pre-conference session on Sunday at 8 a.m.?
It is 8 a.m. Yep, in Scottsdale.
Okay. So thank you all very much, and look forward to being in touch.
Yep. Agreed. Thanks so much to everyone for their time, and I hope everybody has a nice rest of their day.